Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. Have you ever wondered what is possible beyond possible? What is the thing you've been wondering and inquiring about? Are you just feeling stuck and don't know why? Are you thinking or are you seeing? Seeing allows us to expand and have this other experience. We want to invite you for that wake-up call. We want to invite your spirit, your soul, so to be more alive, more connected. Glenn Brooks has been a life coach for over 33 years, author of Divorced to Patterns, Not Each Other, an explorer of what is possible. He has worked with people all around the world. Join us for a wake-up conversation, a dialogue with you, and our regular co-hosts, the money healer Stephanie J. Alvarez and Dr. Nicole Kane. We will have some of the most interesting contributors. We will be talking to some of the most interesting people and have some of the most resourceful teachers, wisdom-filled people from around the world join us. Share your voice, ask the questions, become free of the known into a new world of possibility. We are going to talk about all the things you wonder about: how to live, how to heal, how to connect, how to love, how to be seen. Your life is precious. Enjoy it.
Welcome to Vibrant Living. I'm Glenn Brooks. That's quite a menu. So the first part of the show, we're gonna talk about the Maverick path to publishing, because that's what I promised. The Maverick path to publishing, which is how to break all the rules, write your book, make your movie. And we'll also talk about how to use crisis or adversity as kind of a doorway, not just for yourself, but for those around you as well. We'll talk about relational intelligence. Invite you to join us. I'm really moved right now because I want to say she's not just a dear friend. She's been a family member of mine for many, many years, Stephanie. Patricia's son I met kind of early in this journey, whatever that would mean. I guess when I was in my teens, I started to read Patricia and hear Patricia, mostly hear her, because her voice carries a quality and awareness to it that for me was very awakening. And she would give these talks about the brain and how our brain could evolve and we could see things and we could implement actions from a place of more awareness and consciousness. And when I first met her, like many people, I felt like I already actually had a deep connection with her. And that's why I continued for the last 30 years. So I'm happy to have her with us today, Stephanie. And you know what I want to do? I want to read the beginning of this book, which people tell me has been very impactful to them. So this is, when we're talking about the Maverick path to publishing, it's really about listening to that message that we could ignore. And it's usually a message that's very different than it's just another, if we were going to write a book from our bodies, from another place within us, and I also work with couples now, the message would have a different feel. So what I'm about to read you is unedited, unscripted, and it came to me very late at night, and so I decided, so what my experience of this and what I call it soul seeing. So soul seeing to me was what I was seeing kind of beyond the very severe crisis that I was in. I was in what I call a relational tsunami. A relational tsunami is when your whole world gets shaken by a relational dilemma. And sadly enough, I feel it's sad. I think that the options we have to dealing with relational crisis and tsunamis is a divorce, which doesn't get to the root. It doesn't get to the root of deep connection and seeing and evolving together, or some might call it the relational brain or relational soul. So when I was in this crisis or tsunami, I felt like the color wasn't color. I felt like I couldn't breathe the air. I felt really like, and yet I started to feel another pulsation, something that was different. So I'm going to read you. So I want to say I wrote this all after 12 midnight. I asked a friend of mine who was around me to write this. So here it is, unscripted. I'll ask you guys to exhale 3 times, because when we exhale, it kind of opens up a new way, a different way of taking something in. Divorce the patterns, not each other. Are you contemplating the freedom that you think divorce is going to bring you. See, listen, and notice again. When you do the inner work, there's no need for divorce. The loving and caring that brought you together is still there. To discover vision alignment together allows you to remove the poison that you perceive in your partner right now. You cannot solve your relational problems through divorce or disconnection. The energy around divorce is a state of non-forgiveness, resentment, contempt, and a pattern that we all go through at certain stages of a relationship. You need to divorce the pattern, not each other. Divorcing the pattern allows you not just to stay married, but to move to a deep love, a deep caring love that amplifies the quality of your entire life. Imagine reawakening not just to your mate, but to the aliveness in every relationship. Imagine reconnecting with the confirmation, the commitment you're inspired to make at the beginning of your marriage. Most therapists, friends, healers, and family members encourage divorce. Though well-meaning, they hold unquestioned cultural assumptions and actually set us up to fail. This book, this course, sets you up for a new level of intimacy and love you didn't know existed. During my own relationship tsunami, I felt the most beloved person I knew and treasured had betrayed me. This left me in a state of inner death. The day I got my divorce papers, I felt the pain like I never had before. For the next 14 nights, I received a series of visions and dreams of the holiness of marriage. I slowly go through stages of marriage and leave during some of these stages. I saw that relational pain is truly the gateway to a miraculous marriage. The miracle of the situation, I had a change of perception. I started living. I was living from. I realized that my partner was running from the very thing I was going through. I realized that relational awakening became. I realized my relational awakening moved from a state of pain to a state of sadness. Eventually, the sadness gave way to a great sense of peace and mission. This is the beginning of the book, and I've shared it with many, many people, doctors, lawyers, people, professionals. And soon after this, Sue Johnson came along, and she talked about this, what she calls the new attachment theories, that we can actually go have a deeper love. So in part, this show we're dedicating to the firemen of L.A. We're going to give you guys a donation where you could donate to the foundation. Stephanie will give us out that information. And I want to say, Stephanie, that's funny is I had this wonderful, Patricia will be with us any second, but I realized when I first met my wife, I gave her a Patricia Sun quote. I handwrote her a note, and the quote was all about that. What we're really scared of, we're scared of our own power. We're scared of the wonder that's in us. And when I first would think about power, I always thought about it more individualistically. Now I see it as a total relational phenomenon, and I see a lot of what's called empowerment is mostly endowment. It's very focused on the me and not the we of the community. And Patricia said one thing, and before we get on, I want to say this one thing. I was doing a show with Patricia about 6 years ago, and she said the only sin, it's only one sin, turns out there's a couple more, is to close your heart. So what I realized in my life, every time I would talk to someone around the divorce, except the rare occasions when the couple got remarried, mostly I felt that they were saying, from their closed heart, they were saying they moved on. So in today's show, I really want to dive into, yes, the Maverick path to publishing. But I also want to talk about how to reopen something and re-engage where you never thought you could, which is in some ways the story of L.A., the story of the fires, the crisis, and the unprecedented cost on so many levels for the people in L.A. I love them. I love you guys so much, by the way, including my wonderful daughter, Alicia, whose idea it is and was and living to donate to the people from the L.A. Fire Department. So, Patricia, I was so happy to catch up with you this morning. I want to introduce you to Stephanie, and I just wanted you to share what comes to you as I talk about divorce and patterns on each other, as I talk about the crisis in L.A. I just wanted to see what was bubbling for you. And welcome. It's so good having you with us this morning.
Well, thank you so much, Glenn, and it's nice to meet you, Stephanie. Hi.
Hi, it's nice to meet you as well.
Okay. Well, so much is on my mind because, the fires in L.A. and, of course, here in Northern California were 5 miles from my son's house, and I had a little post-traumatic stress because 10 years ago my house burned down, and I lost everything I had, and I had millions of dollars actually of antiques from around the world, and they were museum pieces really, and they weren't insured, and I lost everything, and I thought I'd lost my dog who was inside, and the fire chief said when my son and another young fireman wanted to break down the door to the only room that was standing, the rest were burnt to the ground, and the only room standing, because it was a 3-level house, it was at the lowest level, and the fire chief said, no, don't bother, there's nothing can live, nothing can be alive in 3.5 hours in a house that's burned to the ground. So my son and this young fireman broke down the door, and out came my dog. And when this all happened, it was really quite a setup for me, particularly, I believe, as a teacher, because 2.5 weeks before the fire burnt down, I was in my beautiful home, everything perfect, and I said, hey, God, how come nobody's calling me? People need to be calling me. This is the time. This big change is going to happen. We have to get ready. And then I said, is there something I'm doing that's getting in the way? And I got a funny little answer, not quite, but something. And I said, oh, does something have to happen I'm not going to like? And I got this gigantic yes, with big yellow letters, yes, practically scream at me. And I said, oh my gosh, okay, I accept. It took me 30 seconds because I had this happen when I first opened. It took me 3 months to accept. This took me 30 seconds because I knew it was going to be something I did not want. And would try to negotiate, but I knew I had to accept because time's a wasting, you know. And so I said, okay. And then when the house started to burn down and I was walking away and it was a 5-story torch-looking thing, I said, okay, God, I get it, you know. And I went to my right and I said, these are the things, my antiques and everything, you know. And I thought, oh my gosh, they don't matter at all. Things twinkle in and they twinkle out. It doesn't matter. And then I looked to my left and I thought, oh, my computers and all my T-shirts and with my logo, you can't take sides when you know the earth is round. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to lose everything. And then that's going to be tough, God. It's going to be tough. And then I looked dead ahead and I looked up into the heavens. It was about 10:30 at night. It was dark. I live in the country. There's no street lights. And I looked up at the stars and I said, okay, God, Kyo, my dog's name in Japanese means noble. He was noble, very sweet dog. I said, Kyo is unacceptable. Things, okay. My work, okay. Kyo's alive. That's not acceptable. And I just was dazed. I was stunned because I walked away with my house, my car exploding in the driveway and everything. And so I came back in about a few hours. The fire was out. And then my son and the firemen bring out my dog. And I remember looking down at him as he's coming, and I said, okay, God, I get it. Only the things that really don't matter will get lost. Everything that matters will never be lost. And I knew that was life itself and love. As I looked at Kyo come walking to me, and it was like music in the air. It was surreal. It was incredible. And it even makes me cry sort of to this day because it set my life up for the next stage. And that is the crisis everybody was going to go through. People would ask me, why did this have to happen? And I said, at that time, 10 years ago, I said, well, people are going to lose a lot. Things are going to happen, and people aren't going to believe me. I'm living in a nice house, beautiful antiques, and I'm going to say, don't worry, it doesn't really matter. You can rebuild. It doesn't, they're going to say, nice, easy for you to say. And so I thought, this is important. This needed to be real. And I said that then to many people. I said it on the air. And now it's like it's just huge with the crisis all over the world. And it's a crisis of consciousness and love. It's a crisis of conscience and consciousness. And we are facing all our old wounds, all our fears, or all our misbeliefs of immature linear thinking, win, lose, we have to win at all costs, black, white, simplistic thinking, causes all of the crisis and pain that we suffer, because we're really ready to use this magnificent brain of intuition on one side and logic on the other to integrate, to make it whole, and to help men and women think about each other differently, and for people to access spirit, really, because the intuitional mind is the sacred mind, as Einstein called it, much more valuable than logic. And logic needs to be the servant to the sacred, intuitive, as Einstein said. And the intuitional mind is the one we marginalize. We don't even half of the time believe it exists. And it is the beacon. It is the connection to the universe, to God, to heaven, to the whole of everything, to one another, to nature, to the planet itself, to ideas that never were before can pop into your mind, music that never was before comes into being. Everything intuitive and creative and gifted by God comes from the intuitive mind, and that's the brain that's trying to integrate with a rather petulant, childish, immature, linear mind that wants to be right all the time. And the linear mind's job, its work, is to keep accurate, keyword, accurate track of facts, so that it's like a great tool. It's a magnificent computer cataloger of everything. And when that's mature, we do it honestly. Even when there's contradictions all over the place, we say, well, that's the fact. There's a contradiction here. Let that. Whenever there's a contradiction, whenever there's a paradox,
we're gonna take a brief pause. You're listening to Vibrant Living Network with Richard Son. We're gonna continue. Stephanie Alvarez is gonna sing. We come back, and you're gonna be touched. I know. I feel it. Stay with us. I'm Glenn Brooks. Your life's precious. Enjoy. You're listening to the Vibrant Living Network.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living. A chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
In the wake of a disaster, what one thing can you send that will help people the most? A blanket, a tent, a sandbag, a doctor. Actually, if you send a monetary donation, you send all these things. Even a small donation can make a big impact and can quickly become exactly what people affected by disaster need most.
In the wake of a hurricane, your monetary donation can make a huge difference to those in need. To donate, visit supporthurricanerelief.org. That's supporthurricanerelief.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Glenn Brooks. You're listening to the Vibrant Living Media Network. If you want to reach me about you move by the program, you want to hear how as we're expanding into a full-time network. We also have Vibrant Speakers International. I want to say what was with Patricia's son today. He's been a long-time family member, brilliant mind, brilliant explorer, talking about embodiment. How to take this wisdom and not get more divisionary through it. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. Why is it that so many groups, take some of this information and make it more divisionary? I would call it the self-improvement or self-empowerment industrial complex, which focuses more and more on me and the differences. Get into that. We'll talk about the remedies. Stephanie said we're donating some of the monies today, all the monies actually, to the Los Angeles firemen and the wonderful, courageous outstanding work they do, and also to Regulat. So I just wanted you to let people know they could donate to the firemen in the LA market who we're working with, and also to Regulat, our wonderful underwriter.
Yes, so we're working with the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation, and you can actually go to supportlafd.org, and they are the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation, which supports the LAFD in protecting life, property, and the environment because they provide the essential equipment, training, and public outreach programs to supplement city resources. So again, it's supportlafd.org.
One more time.
Supportlafd.org.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they need about $1 million worth of hydration packs, and hydration packs really allow the firemen to not just stay awake, but probably save their lives. And they're down on packs, and we're gonna have some of the guys on. I'm just really touched by what they're doing because it's so participatory. It's making such a profound difference, and it's such a crisis right now. So part of the opportunity of crisis is to become more relationally awake together. Patricia, you were talking about the story about your dog, and
well, you know
it's so funny. I want.
What?
No, I was just going to say that when I've been with you, I think one of the things I feel like you distinguish is kind of the unconscious to the conscious. Like I was with you one time, and there was a woman who was involved with a jail project. She's working with men. But funny enough, I never felt she really liked the men at all. Yeah, and so I would just notice this and sense this when I was around her. And usually what would happen being around you, I realized you bring to language, like you talked, I'll give you another example. You talked about how you were at the airport once and this woman unnecessarily searched your bag. And she kind of did it because she could, but on some level it was kind of like she was kind of being invasive. And I realized a lot of, and this is what I see in a lot of New Age fundamentalism and a lot of the empowerment movement. I see that a lot of what's there, and I want to kind of give people some remedies to go beyond some of the fundamentalism that exists in some different communities, when they're not really seeing the relational brain, the relational soul, because I feel like that so much has been not just your message, but I feel like you've ignited people to go beyond some of the limitations and prejudice, and sometimes even the hatred or demeaning that supposedly exists in consciousness communities or conscious communities, or just people.
Well, you know, it's very interesting because I used to have a program in television in the Bay Area about trust the problem, because when we have problems, when there's contradictions, when there's paradoxes, the linear mind should be challenged to become sincere and accurate, remembering it is a tool for observation. And the thing you were just describing and about the abuse of so-called help or anything, when you get right down to it, the dance is between earnestness and powerlessness and power over. When you're earnest, you're self-reflective, you're self-corrective, you know that all the power in your life and in every moment is within yourself to perceive the whole situation more profoundly, to create a response that's more healing, to notice yourself when you can't do that, to observe what is your real agenda. If you're supposed to be a helper, is it all for you, or are you just really thinking and empathizing with the person about what's supportive to the purpose, to the true help? And that's the new consciousness, is to be each person. You don't need it's great to have helpers, it's great to have coaches, anything at all. If it really helps you, go for it. But that's not really the point. The point is you becoming your own good teacher, your own good parent, your own good assessor of things. That's what a grown-up is. Otherwise, you're just playing a game about who's right and jumping from one bin to another. And that really is irrelevant. It's what's good. I used to say it's much more powerful to be good than to be right. To be right is a hangover. Not that it's bad to be right, it's fine. I mean, but when that's the criteria, it's a hangover. It's a hangover from right, wrong, simplistic, power over, dominating kind of thinking. And there is a revelation happening. It's more than a revolution, although it's a kind of psychic, spiritual, conscious brain opening revolution that's going to affect every human institution, whether it's politics or the legal system or relationships and organizations or religions or anything, medicine. All of them are in a crisis mode because of inauthenticity, of getting the appearance to be more important than the innocence and earnestness of the connection. And that, there's an old Southern saying, even a dog knows when you kick him on purpose. We're getting to be very psychic and intuitive. And when somebody goes through your things as a power trip, not to be sure that your things are safe, you can tell. In relationships, in men and women, when they are doing things with all the stuff that's going on and the conflicts, when things are earnest, you can tell. The real problem with sexual abuse is that the person, male or female, whoever's abusing, is making the other person a thing. They are not empathizing. They are not respectfully connecting and listening to the give and take of a true connection. And that's what makes it abusive. It's not particular acts. Different acts can happen that are the same between people, but when it's consenting and it's connected and it's aware and it's respectful and it's caring, plain old-fashioned, genuine, earnest kindness, when sex isn't being used as a unconscious power play, ploy, tool. And this goes for women as well as for men. Men sort of have the power of their physicality to sort of dominate women. And women have the quality of their voice, their words, and their linear thinking, left brain capacity of being excellent in it. They can actually, you don't dare get in an argument with a woman. A woman will always win. She'll at least talk your ear off if she can't win. So, thing of earnestness in both men and women, respectfulness, the listening, the caring, the appreciation that there's a difference of opinion, that there's a contradiction, there's a problem, there's a paradox to be faced. These are pay dirt moments. These are the places where one expands consciousness, where you discover more information, new solutions. And this is the true mature nature of using the left brain and the right brain together. This is the evolutionary leap that we're in the midst of. And it is a win-win kind of thinking all the time, with all kinds of paradox and contradictions and problems, not only allowed, respected, and observed and talked about, but with respect, with not about winning anything, not about being right, not about dominating anything, but through discovering, and most importantly, know that in the power of every now, you have a choice. And the way your intelligence is oriented, if it's oriented toward being right, winning, dominating, you're immature. If you're oriented towards self-reflection and self-correction, and how can I contribute goodness to this now? How can I contribute something healing into the moment, something good? Then you are in new style thinking. You are using your brain maturely. And it's a funny paradox that you're always in a state of slightly not knowing. which is reality, and not the facade.
Patricia, I realize I gotta take a pause to acknowledge our underwriter, Regulat, because they came forward and have one of the more innovative whole food products that's not just wonderful for the gut, but it's restorative, it's cleansing, it's made in Germany. So I want to thank Regulat. And Stephanie, you have if you want to read more and learn about Regulat, and also stay tuned for next show. We're going to really get into biological and restorative medicine, or vibrant medicine, a new model for medicine. So Regulat. So Stephanie, maybe you could give out the website and so people can learn about Regulat. And if you've had conditions such as Lyme disease, different diseases that compensate you, but often the medicine also that might clear things also leaves you with a weak gut. Regulat's something you want to look into. How can people find out more about our wonderful underwriter, Regulat? Stephanie.
The website is regulat-usa.com, and it's spelled REGULAT-USA. And the thing I love about Regulat is it ties into the conversation that we were having. As Patricia was speaking, I was thinking about the fact that when you are connected to your body and when you are healthy and when you have a healthy gut, it allows you to really be connected in a different way to other people. Because in my own journey, when I have not been healthy, when I have not been eating well, and I am going throughout my day-to-day, it's very hard for me to even be connected in my own body because I'm in my head most of the time. My thoughts aren't very clear. It affects my ability to really be present with somebody, whereas when I am eating really well and I'm eating organic and I'm eating fresh and not processed and all of these things, there's a huge shift in my ability to connect to other people. And absolutely. I know, I actually put a quote on our Facebook, Patricia, about what you said because it was so powerful. I was just really listening.
Which one? Which part, Stephanie? What was the quote?
It was, in the power of every now, you have a choice.
And the choice is to consider goodness.
Yes.
And you consider good food, you consider caring for your body, you are instantly more conscious and present with everyone. And you want them to feel present. It's not a control thing, it's an empathy. And that's the shift. That's the big psychological difference in orientation from greed and getting things and having power over and being right and winning. That's not it anymore. It's not that you can't have money and things. That isn't really the issue. They are just things. The issue is our presence and our caring genuinely and caring for ourselves too, our own bodies, our own sanity, our own health, and not violating ourselves. Pardon?
Nothing. I think we just had some interference come through.
Oh, okay.
I think some non-earnest music or something.
And humor is another great one. You know why humor is so great? It deflates the ironically dumb things we do. Humor deflates our over-seriousness about something that's traumatizing or crazy or wrong, and we just don't know how to get our hands around it. So if we laugh at it, we've immediately popped it out of old style thinking deadly serious, and then it's popped into, oh my God, there's another way to look at all this, and that's why humor is priceless. And,
Yeah, I have a friend. One of the things Her name is Jeanette Ortega, and one of the things that she really helped me with when I was going through some trying times in my life with somebody was to neutralize the energy, imagine that they are a clown, or just laugh about it. You know, because really when you think about it, for me, I couldn't possibly be, my mind was just so focused on so many other things, I really wasn't present, and I was so angry at the person. All of my attention was on them, and I realized I couldn't be present if all my attention is there, and I couldn't be in a place of creating if all I'm thinking about is being angry. So I had to neutralize my energy, and the best way I could do that was to just laugh about it. And
Excellent.
then
Excellent.
there I could see, okay, what is it? Why am I attracting this to me? What is it in this person that I'm seeing that is angering me? Then I could do that sort of reflecting work, but I couldn't do that until I was in that space of being neutral, and humor was the best thing that has helped me get to that space.
Wonderful. Absolutely right. That's terrific. Because any way we can find that pulls us into that cleaner space of reflection and goodwill for ourselves as well as other people. Always remember that in fact, you're almost more responsible to have goodwill to yourself because you're the only one in charge of you and you're the only one in there. So you better be good to you and kind in your thinking. But that doesn't mean greedy or indulgent. It means caring and reflective. And you made space for yourself to change your channel, to change the gears, to open up to something new that would give you a new point of view, a new option, something that expanded you or informed you and grew you. You took charge of yourself. That's what being a grown-up is.
Yes.
Wonderful.
We're going to continue with the Vibrant Living Media. I'm Glenn Brooks. You like Precious and Dry. I'm going to talk about the movie I'm making, but I want to talk to you guys about taking something that is moving and giving yourself a platform. How do you move something that's in you to a movie or a book? Because I'm Maverick of Publishing, and also I love Diamond in LA, and more in a moment.
Feed your soul with Waves of Consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Vibrant Living Media. I'm Glenn Brooks. And if you listen in a different way and you want to see with soft eyes, it's just one of the things I realize is what happens with the media is often it generates a very hard conversation. Focus on the exterior events and facts, and so innovation of becoming alive kind of goes beyond that. So I just wanted to talk a moment about this movie as a metaphor or as a doorway. So when I had I call it my relational tsunami. it's so funny talking to Patricia today because Patricia has been such a part of my life in so many ways, in so many different dimensions. I deeply love and appreciate you, Patricia.
Thank you.
I went through a period about a year and a half where I had been married for 27 years, and I kind of sensed deeply that I would always be with Donna and that we would unfold to these other levels. And I took her barefoot hiking. We went barefoot hiking at the Omega Institute. That's about 8 years ago. We came back. Of course, I thought barefoot hiking could be nothing better than that, except for maybe cold feet. I don't know. It was warm. It was warm earth that day. So we came back, and she started getting these very unusual symptoms. I was doing a series in Atlanta, and had a lot of great people on, and I actually opened up Seattle, had a tremendous following there, but I felt something was happening with her that was very unusual, and so I began to kind of ask, and I felt like the doctors, what they were saying didn't make any sense. Like the doctors wanted to give me certain medications, but it didn't make any sense, and I called actually this guy in New York. He told me that based on her symptoms, she definitely had a spirochete illness or Lyme disease. And I realized that moment that all the other nonsense and external things that were in our relationship, the kind of the side dramas and insecurities, really became irrelevant. And I felt this deep, I just wanted to see her move and breathe. By this point, she had full facial Bell palsy. She couldn't move her face. She couldn't close her eyes. And it kind of like both stunned me and brought me into the present. And I realized she wouldn't know because she wasn't there in a certain way. You know, it's really her neurological function was dwindling every day. She could barely walk. And it kind of abruptly stopped me because I feel like, I don't know if I wasn't 100% taking it for granted, but it put me in touch with not just how much I loved her, but how much I really felt that we were supposed to be together to discover something and live something together, and that would be passed on to our children and others. And it's kind of funny because one of the things I talk to people about now is that one of the big themes I work with Vibrant Speakers International is beyond competing. You don't need to compete to be brilliant at all. No competing. Beyond competing. So, but I realized we had this little thing I felt we were competing with. I kind of felt Donna was married to yoga, and I missed her in that marriage. So what happened was, little by little, I found people. I met some people. I met a neurologist in Oregon, an anthroposophical neurologist. The day that I met him, Donna was laying in the backyard on a white sheet. She could barely move. And I told him what was happening. So he's a neurologist, and he says to me, he says, you know, Glenn, he goes, often people leave their bodies when they don't feel a sense of will. They don't have any will anymore. It's kind of like they're displaced and their body's kind of drifting away. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the way that people meditate and do certain practices and they're interested in astral projection, all kinds of, it's almost like we learn a lot of metaphysical things and mystical things are out of the body. So he said to me, Glenn, he goes, find a way to help her mobilize her will. And as he said it to me, I looked down and I saw this Earthshoe catalog, right? So I had this impulse to get off the phone with him. So I went to the backyard, I put the Earthshoe catalog down, and I said, Donna, pick any pair of shoes that speak to you. So she pointed to these red Earth shoes. I had them overnighted, and I could feel the next day when she touched the Earth shoes, like I could feel, yeah, her will is coming in. They want to do a spinal tap. You got it on a spinal tap. They basically burst the spinal, that chamber. It's a horrible thing. They wanted to see the spirochetes. Her face was frozen. She gets the Earth shoes. And I also begin to see her face. And then I see, by the way, there's a video you guys could watch called Her Beautiful Face. Her Beautiful Face on Beyond the 3D, where I talk about how the crisis and illnesses, you go beyond them and bring each other forward. So anyway, I started to see her and started to breathe and feel her face move. It was Sunday night. They wanted to rush in for a spinal tap, and I could see her eyebrow move. And just seeing her eyebrow move meant everything in the universe to me. And unfolded, and little by little she gained more movement. I built this amazing team. One of them was she was 99 years young, Doris Crawford, a genuine spiritual healer. No one, she was the kind of person you could call until your whole universe would change just hearing her voice. I'd call Doris and I'd say, Doris, and she would just say, Glenn, drop into the silence. And I could feel things shift. And one day, all of a sudden, Donna was like Donna again. And I'd come out of this place with her, and yet there was something still there, and I wasn't sure if it was to be resolved or how to be with it. And so the next level was I felt her pull away. And I felt one moment, Patricia and Stephanie, that everything I had known about relationship, and particularly everything I had learned in the human potential movement, I had learned from consciousness groups, didn't ring. So I knew I was going to go both through a purification and education, and I knew my life had shifted in a way that I had no idea what to do. And I lost my show in Seattle, which I was kind of okay with. I lost a show in Seattle where I had a really large following in Seattle, and it just kind of like went away. I think all the station manager said to me was he owed me good karma, but not money. I remember that line. But in fact, he owed me money. But I thought the line was a good line. So pretty much I went through the tsunami. I started to talk to people. Now what I want to note about this is in some ways I didn't go towards this. What happened was no matter what I was doing in my life, if I was selling a car till I was going to a restaurant, people would start to ask me about relationships. Like this woman said to me, she was calling about an old Mercedes-Benz I was selling, and she told me about her boyfriend. So I thought, wow, this relational theme is like everywhere. It's the most significant thing. It's what makes people come alive. It makes them wonder. And yet there's the beliefs they have and how people treat each other, even after yoga class, is so brutal, so often. How could it be?
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
it's true.
Right? So I want you to comment on that. I want you to dive into that one.
Well, a relationship, I used to say, is the quickest way to become conscious. Because relationships are not cookie cutter. There are many different things. People are hugely complex. People hook up. I also used to say we fall in love because we have matching love and because we have matching garbage. Garbage, dysfunction, psychological neurosis is as big a glue as any kind of love. And the reason it's such a big glue is it has to be there so we will work on it. And, I'm just starting to really use my Twitter account, and it's on my computer right now, a picture of Einstein on a bicycle. And one of the things I used to say, we want to look cool all the time. So using the bike as an analogy, we sit on the bike with the kickstand down, and we look cool. We look like we can just do anything. But we really don't like to put the kickstand up because then we wobble all over the place. We see people who can ride and it looks like they're flying, and we want to do that, but we don't want to go through the process. And the thing is, you have to go through the wobbles to really learn how to have true balance. And all true growth and education, particularly around relationships, involves an awful lot of wobbles, an awful lot of garbage, matching garbage. And matching garbage is when people are wounding one another. You can always tell that's what's there because people will be blaming and judging and being unfaithful and not telling the truth and all those kind of things that drive us nuts. That's a symptom of matching garbage. Matching love is a willingness to hear, to have empathy for the other person's point of view, and while not losing your own, you try to really step into their shoes, so to speak, and feel their point of view, and then you brainstorm together. This is the creativity of a relationship. You brainstorm together on how to solve this, how to get perhaps a whole new point of view you never even imagined can come into existence. This is where creation comes from. It does require not conflict, but contradiction. It requires different points of view that when held as a polarity fight, But when you move to the overview, you see, oh my God, even the biggest opposition has a connection. And then you find what the connections are, and you empower what is good. And when you try to do that, even a little, an awful lot of garbage just falls away. It becomes irrelevant. It's almost like by attrition, it dies, because you have replaced the glue with love instead of neurosis. And it is important not to stay in a relationship that's harmful. When somebody isn't going to work on it, when somebody's going to be harmful, I don't think people should stay. You can be willing to say, is this changed? But you better look at it and be sure. Otherwise, really, there's no reason to break up a relationship except an unwillingness to work on it. Because if there's a willingness to work on it, well, it's kind of interesting then, no matter what kind of criteria or rules or whatever kind of preconceived idea one may have, good or bad, about how it should or shouldn't be. If it's moving, if you're growing, if you're healing one another, if you're discovering things together, that's heaven on earth. That's the purpose of relationship. And that's what I mean when I say the most powerful way to become conscious is through relationships, because it's a for real deal. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Patricia. Okay.
I thought I heard Stephanie. That's okay. I'm sorry, Glenn. Go ahead.
No, I'm just okay. So what I think's happening in the culture, it's funny. About 15 years ago, I was sitting at Whole Foods, and there was this little card about. It was a questionnaire about your partner, about your man in your life, and I read it and I thought, this is really funny. Like a lot of old men that I know have these qualities, but I kind of felt like there's been this dehumanization and validation of the masculine. I had a woman on the show a little while ago, Anita Teresa, and she said, well, part of what's going on is that a lot of women believe this story. They believe this kind of sort of a myth about this fallen man, about, kind of the idea would be if women were in charge, it would be like this. And she was kind of saying, well, that's not accurate. I want to get your comment, because I see what, I want to get your comment. Go right for it. Say something.
Well, I think that the dance between men and women is most extraordinarily wonderful and powerful. And unfortunately, and fortunately, they each use, especially under stress, different hemispheres. And it's part of what makes men and women different, and thank God, But the thing that's important is that women not try to be men and gain power that men have, and men not try to gain acquiescence in the sense that we see women being yin. But there is a dance, there is a sharedness of the two hemispheres. And when women recognize how brave men are and how men really want to do everything they can to please women, then they kind of can relax a little bit, and instead of needing to write women's biggest problem when they're scared particularly, and men go to physical action when they're scared and pile up, sort of like sports, and then women, when they're scared, they pile up to be right. They get sanctimonious. Whenever a woman's voice gets sanctimonious, go, ouch, ooh. Send her a lot of love, calm everything down, because women are brilliant. I mean, they have these two hemispheres that they can work together. They have got all kinds of extra DNA to grow babies. Women are awesome. And they are believing they're not powerful when they are extraordinarily powerful, and they throw away the power that they have in the name of trying to get power like men, which isn't it.
Mm-hmm. And also invalidating and being vicious.
Pardon?
I said yes, and then also the women, a lot of voices in the media are not just invalidating.
Immature.
It's almost like if they could immature. And thank you. It's so funny. I've been saying to Stephanie, mature women. I've been using the mature analogy. Thank you. Immature.
Yeah, they're immature. And the culture is immature. The media is, lowest common denominator is making money, getting ratings. This is classic old style thinking. This is what keeps us paralyzed into immaturity and into terrible problems, because no solutions can be had from that point of view. You're leaving out all the crucial information to be right. And you know, it's a fake kind of right when you have to drop reality out of the picture so you can look like you're right. There's not reporting that's deep. It's all about appearances and who's winning and what kind of clothes they're wearing. I mean, the whole thing is getting so obviously not healthy. And that's the good news about our president. Because of his particular type of mental illness that he has, and he does have a mental illness, he is injured, and I have great compassion for him, but he is a living archetype of America's wounded shadow. He is the living archetype of all our unconscious dysfunctions. And he makes them writ large. He blows them up in our face. He tweets about it. He says it. He contradicts himself because he can't help it. He is a little boy who is not loved and who wants to prove loved. And he's fixated in a way. This is the mental illness, the personality disorder. He's fixated in a way that he can constantly get approval, and the culture has rewarded him for it. Even though he didn't get 3 million votes, the Russians paid him off. They helped tweet and bought him into all kinds of stories that let him win. This kind of unconscious takeover at a time when technology, and I guess today is the net neutrality day, it's insane to give away that.
Oh, and Patricia, I need to let people know. I need you to ID this for a second. So I want to guys let you know you're listening to the Vibrant Living Media Network, Vibrant Living Network, on OMTimes Radio with Patricia's son. Upcoming, our next hour is going to be all about raising money for the firemen. We'll also have on, I feel, the world's best acting teacher, Eric Morris. Patricia, I love you. Thanks for being with us today.
I love you too, and I love all your listeners, and you too, Stephanie. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to, are you? Kids, work, listening to the radio. You're busy, which is great because busy people can't get prediabetes. Oh my, I read that wrong. They can. Should have worn my glasses. So visit doihaveprediabetes.org and take a short test, because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Hello, you're listening to the Vibrant Living Network with Glenn Brooks, Stephanie Alvarez, the Money Healer, and we have a special guest on with us today, Eric Morris. We are also doing a fundraising during this show for the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. You can go to supportlafd.org, and their mission supports
Thank you.
the LAFD in protecting life, property, and the environment by providing essential equipment, training, and public outreach programs to supplement city resources. Again, that is supportlafd.org. If you were listening at the top of the hour, we were with Patricia Sun, and you can go to her website, which is patriciasun.com, PATRICIA, and this show is being brought to you by Regulat, who you can visit, regulat-usa.com, REGULAT. They are an amazing whole food supplement with many benefits, including helping your digestion as well as energy and any sluggishness problems that you have. And Glenn, I believe that you're on, so I'm going to pass it to you.
Thank you, Stephanie. You know, over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I want to say thank you to my beloved daughter Alicia Brooks, who mentions on our Facebook page, we need to really be there for the firemen, their meals, their medical, all the resources. And one of the things the foundation's doing is they need $1 million for the hydration packs, which really is a life or death thing. Having a hydration pack when they go into a fire or smoke area makes a huge difference for the firemen. So I'm just from the depth of my heart, I just feel so grateful for what the firemen are doing, and I'm also appreciating how people are coming together in an unprecedented crisis around the LA area. So and I want to thank Nina from the foundation, who's been tremendously supportive and wonderful in terms of letting everybody know in the LA area. So I want to say some my love, my hello to all the people in the LA area, especially my Alicia and all her friends, and all you guys who Facebook are listening and let me know that it means a lot to you, and that LA is so much a part of who we are and touches us. The innovations, the creativity, the acting community, the healing community, all those people through the last 29 years who've come on. And a person really close to my heart, Eric Morris, who I called 17 years ago after I looked at one of his books on No More Acting, Please. How to really go beyond the conventional, impositional, mechanical acting, really to get to the heart of the feel of the character. Who is that person? What do they want to express? How would they express it? And I realized there was something there. And I called Eric, feeling this deep connection, and Eric gave me his cell phone, his home phone, and it was like I felt like I had a new family member, and I still feel that. Strong as ever today, we're going to discuss a film I'm putting together called The Announcement. Eric's working on a new book on how to take care of yourself, how to get those interruptions, the things that you're holding you back. And we're going to keep coming back with Stephanie telling you how you can donate to the firemen. If you want to call in today, we're going to give out the number. Stephanie, why don't you give out the number? If you guys want to call and you have a story about something around the fires, something we need to hear, something of community interest around the LA that we haven't covered, you want to bring up, or you just want to join the conversation, what's the number that people could call today, Stephanie? Stephanie. 202. Sorry.
570-7057, 202-570-7057 to dial in.
Welcome, Eric, to the show. Here we are together. I just found out last night, me and you were born at Mount Sinai Hospital. Maybe that's another factor in why we're so connected. Mount Sinai Hospital, you were there a little bit before me, but I arrived 30 years later, or maybe 40 years later. Thanks for setting up the room for me.
Yeah,
I know.
But I was born in Chicago.
Thanks for making the room.
So I don't know, were you born in Chicago?
I thought you were born in Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. Where did I get that from?
I have no idea.
Wrong information? All right, we'll skip that.
Born and raised in Chicago. I stayed in Chicago until I was about 22, 23 years old when I graduated from Northwestern University. Then I went west. The young man went west, and I've never been back except for visits, I live in California.
Yes.
I've been here I live in Los Angeles for, I guess, 67 years now. So I'm a real Californian, you know. So,
what do people need to know from you about California? Like, what would you like to share about being in LA? And what's someone who's listening for the first time and hearing, what would you want to share about LA, this wonderful community of people that touches people around the world?
Glenn, I would take the whole hour of this radio broadcast to tell you how I feel about LA. I love LA. I've been here since 1954, and I've been working and living here. I've been in movies. I'm an actor also, and I teach here. I have a studio here. I've taught many studios, but I'm on Wilshire now. But anyway, what can I say about LA? Well, first of all, I think it's an incredible place. Los Angeles means the city of the angels, and it truly is. There's everything you would ever want here, particularly the weather. I love the weather. But I want to divert for just a moment to thank you for fundraising for the Los Angeles Fire Department. We have had some tragic, devastating fires just recently in Ventura and I think in Bel Air and all the way to San Diego. And they've destroyed, the fires have destroyed over 400 houses, I think more by now. And the LA Fire Department and people coming from all over the country to help out. It's devastating. Of course, you know, we do pay a price to live in California. We have earthquakes occasionally. We have floods. We have not floods. We have, when it rains, it kind of floods the intersections. We have mudslides and we have fires. So we have some challenges here. So there are some downsides, but the upsides are so overwhelming, we don't even think about the downsides until it hits us hard. I have a house in Lake Arrowhead, which is in the San Bernardino Mountains, and almost lost it 7 years ago. There was a massive fire up there, which came to 4 blocks from my house, stopped 4 blocks. So we dodged the bullet that time, you know. So anyway, I know about fires and I know about things. But if you know, I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something very prejudiced from where I'm sitting about my Los Angeles, my Hollywood, and that is I feel sorry for everybody that doesn't live here. You know, that's a very strange thing to say. You know, I mean, there's some beautiful places in this country, and there's some gorgeous places, you know, and I'm sure people are happy where they live. But you know, I am so much a Los Angeline, I guess, Californian that you asked me to say something. I guess I could talk all day, so I'm going to stop now. Okay. I love.
It's good hearing your voice.
LA. I love LA.
Yeah,
I love LA.
You are LA.
Yeah, I am. I truly am. I have to tell you something. You mentioned my book. The name of my book that I'm working on is called A Second Chance at Life, and it has 8 or 9 techniques of how to repair the damage that we have experienced growing up in our lives, in our society, in our neighborhoods, in our country, in our cities, and how we get damaged from well-meaning people who love us, our peer groups, our parents, our clergy, our teachers, etc. And I've been working for 30 years on techniques to repair that damage so that it does not continue to filter up from the unconscious and stop us from having a happy, healthy, productive life. So I think, you know, I've now written, 8 books on acting. This one is not on acting. This one is on something else, and it's for everybody.
Stephanie wears a T-shirt, Eric, that says, please. Yeah, Stephanie wears a T-shirt that says, please don't damage me. Is that a helpful thing to wear, you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. if people will take it seriously.
Well, it says in the back of the T-shirt, take it seriously.
Yeah, good, because they should, you know.
Yeah.
And we're experiencing a lot of, lately we're experiencing a lot of sexual assaults that are going on from well-established, famous people, which is, you know, kind of a tragic thing. That's very damaging. And, you know, my heart goes out to all the people who have experienced sexual assault, you know. I'm not going to name any names, though.
Well, I think We're going to force you by the end of the show to name names, Eric. You don't have any choice about it. No, I appreciate that.
I mean,
we don't want to name names. I think the thing about it is since you're writing a book about people beyond damage, what occurs to you? What in your experience? What is a human being that's free and creative and aware and relational? Like, what comes to you from all your years of working with people on this authentic path to expressing, acting, and expressing what they really feel and being awake? What moves your soul about a human being that's able to live and be something beyond the damage that's alivening and touching?
Well, okay, that's a very good question. I've been teaching 58 years. I mean, I've had tremendous social, psychological training, and of course, I'm still in psychotherapy, on and off for 25 or 30 years of my life. Here's what I believe. I think the bottom line for being healthy and productive and happy is to elevate your awareness and your consciousness. When you reach a state of consciousness where you really are aware of the internal realities of your life and the external realities of your life, and you really know how to deal with them, address them, use therapeutic tools to eliminate the things that stop you from being successful, happy, healthy, and productive, then you're free. I think our mission from birth to death is the elevation of consciousness. I mean, that's my personal feeling. I think that when we're born to the time that we take our last breath, our responsibility is to become more and more and more and more conscious. I believe consciousness is the answer to peace on the earth. I mean, conscious people are not prejudiced. They don't start wars. They don't hurt people. So, I mean, consciousness is, I think, the goal. And I've been, teaching people how not to act, because there's no separation between living and acting, and to become conscious, So that's my mission. Anyway, I have 8 books out on acting, and this one is not about acting. It's about how to repair the damage, and it's for everybody on the planet, So I think this is probably going to be my most important book. I hope. I hope it reaches a lot of people.
I want to say, Eric, in terms of people, good human beings, awake people, we got a message from the fire chief from the Santa Barbara firehouse. I want to say what's consistent with the fire departments around LA over the last couple of weeks when I started to take this, to really want to be able to bring, and please get out your charge cards and your heart for the firemen. They need about $1 million. They need these hydration packs, among other essential things. But the fire chief of Santa Barbara says he was so concerned about the people that lost their houses that it was almost like he wanted to give to them. So I just want to say they're so generous and courageous. Stephanie, why don't you go ahead and let people know? People listening today, we're doing a special benefit. It looks like I want to continue this for a few weeks. I really want to have some of those wonderful people, wondrous people of LA, and take care of the firemen in a way that honors this unprecedented crisis that's going on right now in the LA area. Stephanie, how could people do that? And also, when you talk about that, how people could do that, I want to ask you about your T-shirt when you're done with that.
Got it. Okay. So it's supportlafd.org, the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation, and if they go there to that website, they can make donations directly to them. And again, it's supportlafd.org. Basically have a mission to support the Los Angeles Fire Department, helping them protect the lives and property and the environment by providing essential equipment, training, and public outreach programs to supplement city resources. So it's a great organization.
Nina told me, who's the president of the organization or the director, she told me that another thing they do is they make sure that the very affluent areas, they have a lot of money. She makes sure the money goes into some of the areas that need extra financial support. So they're also very good at discerning and helping the fire departments all around the LA area. So they're just doing some great, wonderful stuff. Give out their contact and those, and please assist us with getting those hydration packs on the packs of the firemen and other essentials they need on the ground. And just know, everybody, we just love you a lot. And I appreciate my life wouldn't be my life without a lot of people in the LA area. And my deep part, my daughter lives there, and on her website, Lisa Brooks, she mentioned this idea, and it just lit up in me that we need to raise funds and awareness and embrace this like it's a part of our body. That's how significant it is. So how can people send money and funds, Stephanie? One more time.
Support LAFD.org. There is a donation section, and that will take you directly to it. Support LAFD.org, the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation.
In meeting Eric Morris, it followed, my path. And my path was, because when I was in school, I felt like I was tortured. I felt like what was being talked about didn't relate to me. I was sitting at Amherst College, and one of the college students heard me. I said, college is, you go to college, you take it in, you regurgitate it, you memorize it, and it's overwhelming. And she said, yeah, that's pretty much what college is. So in every area of my life, whether it was tennis, it was health, I felt there was a mechanical, inauthentic way to approach it, medicine, a whole bunch of stuff. There wasn't a place where a group of people come fully alive, pay more attention, parts of their system, parts of their body could come alive. And so I kept finding people, and I thought, acting is so beautiful and magnificent. Why would you want to bring acting to it? Acting sucks. Acting gets in the way of this expression. We don't need people that are cool. We need more warm, alive people that could express themselves. So when I heard about Eric's work, it was like, bang, it was almost like later I said, yeah, that's who I want to learn from. I want to unlearn the nonsense. Someone said to me a couple of months ago, he said, well, when you get your act together, call me in 2 months. I left a message and said, I don't want to get my act together. I want to put my act behind me. I want to be more real and alive. That's what I'm interested in. Because I've noticed when people are more real and alive, they make different contributions. And it's not so much about just a me. It becomes a we in a relationship. Eric, when did you, being an actor and starting an acting school, when did you start to distinguish? There was this thing called acting, this impositional thing that was kind of there, and how did you discern this other thing where it's like really about feeling and becoming aware and moving that into the character?
Well, that's a good question. You ask good questions, You're ready. You zone in. You just focus in on it. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what happened with me is that I was interested in certain actors. I didn't know anything about acting. I was about 18 years old.
Oh, we're gonna pick up this question, Eric. We're gonna pick up this question. What I just asked you, so we could take a brief break, and we'll continue with Vibrant Living. If you want to be more alive, a little bit of some curiosity, and continue with us. Your life precious and joy with Eric Morris, Stephanie Alvarez, right here on the Vibrant Living Network.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Hi, I found a toy dinosaur over on the playground by Smith Street. It had this phone number on it, and, well, I just wanted to make sure the dinosaur made it back to its little owner.
When I found the little sippy cup, I just had to give you a call. It's for a kid,
I know my son gets super attached to the smallest things, even a fire truck, and I'd be happy to drop it off.
We'd do anything for kids, yet 1 in 6 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Glenn Brooks, along with Stephanie Alvarez. You're listening to the Vibrant Living Media Network, Vibrant Living. We're talking to Eric Morris, who I love and deeply appreciate as an innovator, as a contributor to leaving acting behind, an authentic expression, a distinction in acting that he's brought to people all around the world. I asked Eric, how did he discover this? Where was he? What happened that he felt moved in a different direction? He started to share his response, and then we had that commercial come up. So, Eric, share with us of this journey where you, because a lot of people wonder, how does someone innovate something? How does someone step into a different distinction? How does someone distinguish between one thing and another thing?
Yeah, well, I never, I never decided to create a system which evolved. It evolved by my work, working. But let me roll the tape back a little bit. I was going to be a photographer, a professional photographer, until my brother, who was in the theater, came into Chicago with Finian's Rainbow. And he was the production stage manager for the road company, and he invited me backstage to see the show. The first time I was there was opening night, and I was backstage. I was behind the portals, and the overture started. The dancers jumped on stage, and my eyes got very big, like 2 soft-boiled eggs. And from that night on to the present day, I have never done anything else but pursue the theater, films, acting from that day forward. So I was so impressed with that. Photography took on the back burner, and I became an actor. Well, I didn't become an actor. I trained. But I'll tell you what the evolution of this was, because it's very interesting, I think.
Right.
I go to the movies, and I would see these actors who I really were touched by: Montgomery Clift, Marlon Brando, Lee J. Cobb, Eli Wallach, people like that. I was drawn to these people, not knowing what their backgrounds were, what their training was, where they came from, etc. And a few years later, I found out that every one of the actors I so admired had the same kind of background. Lee Strasberg, the Actors Studio. It was the Stanislavski system, the method as taught by Lee Strasberg. And that's when I started to really train in terms. I was a professional actor for a number of years before I got involved in Martin Landau's class, who was a devotee of Lee Strasberg and a member of the Actors Studio. I was with Marty for 3 years, and that's when I really got the ABCDs of acting. I had no craft, no how. I spent my life looking for the how. How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you do that? I asked every acting teacher I ever had. Nobody could answer it except in general bromides and in general terms and examples. So when I got into Marty's class, I began to see a how, a system, a craft. But it was only the beginning. I would say that from Lee Strasberg and Martin Landau, I went from A, B, C to E. But I had enough letters to proverbially spell words, so to speak. So from there, teaching over the years and working with actors, I developed my system based on Stanislavski, influenced by both Marty and Lee Strasberg. But I've gone galaxies beyond the original precepts over the years of over a decade, a century. I've been teaching 58 years, and so this developed without my even planning to, let's say, create a system. But it evolved as a system, and it's an incredible system. I work with people, and I liberate.
I want to take a brief, Eric. I want to take a brief break to just let people donate to the LA Fire Foundation, Foundation.
Great, yeah.
And we'll do that, and then what we'll do, I want to ask you some tips. I want to ask you some practical tips. I want to thank Stephanie for coming up with a T-shirt based on your inspiration called "Please Don't Damage Me." In the back of the T-shirt says, "Take this seriously." Stephanie, if you could please let people know they could donate. That's Stephanie's little way of saying to people, don't let other people damage you. And what I would do is I would point to the front of the T-shirt and say, please pay attention, because there's a lot of unconscious baboons out there, and a lot of people seem to – by the way, I want to say that a lot of baboons are more conscious than a lot of human beings. So I didn't mean to invalidate baboons. I relate a lot to what you're saying in terms of freeing the hidden splendor and people like treating each other in a more honored way. And I want to say we're dedicating the show and our upcoming shows to the firemen of LA, their courageous actions, them not just putting their lives on the line, putting their family in line. I'm just so moved. 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine who went to it's called the Christian Marie School, the K School in Ojai. She was crying one day, and I said, "What happened?" She said, "Well, the whole school is just wiped out." I believe that they've been there at least 45 years. So things are getting wiped out. There's places the firemen can't access. They stay up. Some of them are staying up like 24 hours a day, and they're getting into areas where there's no oxygen. People are having all kinds of lung and breathing issues. These hydration packs, which could make a world of difference. We need about $1 million. So we're raising money today for the hydration packs and other practical items to keep our beloved firemen going. Stephanie, how can people contribute today? We're talking to Eric Morris. We're an internationally renowned acting teacher, or going beyond acting to an innovative approach, which I love. We're going to share practical tips as we continue. And I love my daughter, Alicia, so much. I love you, Alicia. How can people contribute, Stephanie?
Well, first of all, I do want to thank our underwriter, Regulat, and let people know that they can go to their Facebook page, REGULAT. On Facebook, they can also go to regulat-usa.com and take a look at all of the amazing benefits that they have as a whole food supplement. And the organization that we are raising funds for today is the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. They can be found at supportlafd.org. Again, it's supportlafd.org. They're doing some amazing things to raise funds for the firefighters in Los Angeles. And as you were saying, Glenn, some of that money that they have, they actually donate to some of the, the victims of the fire, and they do outreach programs to help supplement some of those city resources and providing essential equipment to the firefighters.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm making a film. I have no other choice but to make a film. When I go to bed at night, I see the imageries and the story that I want to share is very deep, and I'm so glad Eric's on my Insight team and that he's with us today. A lot of you wonder, I think, okay, if you don't learn acting skills, what is there? How do you express the hidden splendor? How do you go beyond acting? How do you reach people? How do you touch them? That's what Eric does. And sometimes hour classes that run hours and hours long. My daughter's been to several of Eric's classes. So Eric, what is have you had to leave the listener with three things to pay attention to? They're saying, okay, I'm listening to Eric, I get it. A lot of acting makes us mechanical. We become robotic. It's missing this other dimension of authenticity, reaching, touching, accessing, realness. What would you recommend for those who might want to go to another level?
The first book I wrote, the first of 8 books I wrote, was called No Acting, Please. Very significant title, because I teach people how not to act, but to become experiential actors, so that you're not acting, you're experiencing what the character is experiencing from your own life experiences. You use those as choices. So I teach people how not to act, but to become professional experiencers. So that's the thing that separates my work from a lot of the people who teach people the mechanics and the conceptual approach to acting, which my work does not embody at all. I do want to say this. I have a website. It's ericmorris.com. It's very simple. And if you subscribe to it, you get 2 free videos a month and a newsletter about everything that's going on here and who's working, what we're doing, etc. And the videos are between 5 and 7 minutes long about the actual approach I use with people. So it's free. If people subscribe to ericmorris.com, they get these 2 free videos on their computer and a newsletter about every 5 or 6 weeks, which really fills in the gaps, fills in the the blanks, I think. You know, Glenn?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes.
You're there.
I'm here. I'm totally here. I just wanted Stephanie, if there's something that's sparking you, Stephanie, or something that you have a humorous comment or an awareness or a question, please.
I always have something, Glenn. No, I'm just, listening to this conversation, and one of the things that sparked in me is the conversation that you and I were having, and I posted a little something about it yesterday about boundaries or barriers. And I think that oftentimes when we feel as though something has happened, something damaging has happened, or we see things that are going on, or we hear things, something that you would call a thought virus. And what I've noticed is that there's so many people out there talking about you have to have boundaries, you need more boundaries. And I think that it's okay to have boundaries as you're doing the inner work to heal the reason why you feel that you need those boundaries, right? And so I had an incident happen to me recently where somebody had actually went, and this was somebody local, had went and copied and pasted stuff from my website and then was using it as their own. This was somebody that I knew. And my knee-jerk reaction, of course, I'm upset about the thing. And not only that, I blocked the person, from my Facebook and stuff. But then I did the reflecting to say, well, why did that happen, though? What was it within me that attracted it? And I realized that I've had a fear of people stealing my stuff for a really long time. When I was a teenager, somebody stole all of the jewelry that my mother had given me. And she had given me this jewelry over many years for birthdays and holidays, and she would always buy me these beautiful pieces. Now, my mom worked really hard to get these things. She's not making millions of dollars. She was a single mom, but for me, it was the sentiment. It was like, oh my gosh, it felt horrible. And so I carried that with me for a really long time, that fear of somebody stealing my stuff, my ideas, my intellectual property. And then somebody that I called a friend also, was just taking different business ideas that I had shared with them. And so I realized, okay, I felt that I needed to put some boundaries up, but then I also knew that I had to go back and do the inner work and work on that subconscious belief that I had of, people are going to steal my stuff. Because doing what I do, I'm very visible on the online arena. So then the question comes, how can I be very truly successful and do the things that I want to do if I have this fear of people stealing my stuff? So I had to work on that.
Well, let's ask Eric, because in acting, by the way, I've had people call me. I work with this one guy. There's a company called The Ultimate Life. Sam Gerard. He's out in Santa Barbara. He told me that one day he saw a flyer, and it was his product with all the ingredients, except it was called the Perfect Life product. And they took all the ingredients in it, and he got everything from very pure food sources that were organic, and this is from China. So Eric, what about this idea of intellectual property stealing, imitating? Obviously, it's rampant in a lot of communities, probably acting in a big way. What about being authentically bold and not competing, and kind of like the whole issue of like letting ourselves thunder without the fear of competition or other people? All the factors that come around. I guess the fear of competition, the fear of people, getting in our way. What would your comment be or your feedback to Stephanie around that?
Well, plagiarism and imitation and theft is a very common thing, and the people who are qualified and are contributors to the world are out there, and there are people who don't have that talent, so they feel they have to steal it from other people or imitate it or plagiarize that, and that's very, very sad. But I'll say this, when maybe for Stephanie, that nobody can steal your talent, nobody can steal your mind, nobody can steal your contribution. You're an original. You're not a copy. You're not a print. You're an original. So the fact of the matter is that it will ultimately, and I'm not talking just about karmic justice. I'm talking about discovery. Ultimately, people discover the source and the origin of from which something comes. Nobody can steal my stuff. It's in print and it's registered. You know what I mean? And if they do, it's identifiable. I've got hundreds of thousands of books out there over the years. I don't know how many books, maybe, a lot. And so, Stephanie, I wouldn't worry about it. I would just go ahead making your contribution to the world and letting the second-handers do what they do, because they ultimately catches up with them, There's a kind of karmic justice in the world, And that's the only thing I can say about it. I'm not worried, because if people think that they want to use my stuff, that's why I wrote those books, to help people. So take it,
Mm-hmm.
You get that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Debbie,
I don't know if that's
Debbie, do you get
kind of advice.
Is Ed speaking to you?
What?
It is. I mean, for me, I just realized the lesson was, okay, I need to do that inner work, because I was a vibrational match to that. So that wouldn't have, I don't feel that would have happened if I wasn't a vibrational match to that energy of, people are going to steal my stuff. That's why I knew I needed to do the inner work. And, like Eric was saying, people can copy those things, but there's no way that they can copy my essence and who I am and the message I bring to the world and my experience, all of these things. But I had to do the inner work to discover that.
Of course, that's true. That's true. They can't take that away from you,
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll tell you another thing. I have about 200 teachers out there all over the world teaching my system. But fortunately, they give me credit for where they got it. But that can happen to you, too. Ultimately, when a person has some ethics and honesty, they will credit you for your contribution. They will say, I got this from Stephanie. This is where it came from. And, and when that happens, it's kind of
all right, we're gonna take a brief moment here. Hey, I want to talk to Eric about, Stephanie, is let's talk about using this tragedy that's happening in LA. A lot of you, I know, are hurting on so many levels. I got a call from one of the insurance brokers. He was saying it's so crazy. He's never seen it like this. Let's talk about turning craziness and adversity into something that has deep values, authenticity. I love you, Leisha. She's the one that's behind this, my beautiful daughter. Stay with us on the Vibrant.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
I'm Glenn Brooks with the Vibrant Living Network. Our deep appreciation for the firemen of Los Angeles, saving lives, exceeding every kind of reasonable guideline, staying up through the night, just really putting their asses, their souls, their full willpower into making a difference in so many of the communities. And the integrity of the fire chiefs, it's right amazing. When I call and I hear back, it's so much they really just want to be there for the people whose houses are burned down, the areas that are inaccessible. I mean, literally, they're staying up. They've already stayed up 24-hour shifts. For them to have hydration packs would make a world of difference. So take the information that Stephanie's going to share with you in a moment. We'll continue with the magnificent Eric Morris and going beyond acting to reach and touch people on the stage in your life. And that's right, to repair and to go beyond some of the damage. So it's a big thing. So Stephanie, please, for our heroes, our beloved firemen, how can people make a difference today for them?
They can go to the website. It's the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. They can go to support LAFD.org and make a donation directly there. Again, it's support LAFD.org. And I also wanted Eric to give his contact information, too, if he could give his website and where people can buy his books, get more information. I do know that he is on Facebook. It's Eric, E-R-I-C, Morris, M-O-R-R-I-S. I know his website is ericmorris.com, but Eric, if there's any other contact information you'd like to give to our listeners?
No, thank you, Stephanie. No, the website would be a really direct way to contact me, and I'm on Facebook also, ericmorris.com, and if they subscribe to it, it's totally free. They get 2 videos a month and a newsletter that fills them in on what we're doing here in LA, who's working, what films they're doing. I work with a lot of very established actors who are doing films constantly, and and some of my beginning actors are beginning to work. So the newsletter just fills us in on what we're doing, and the videos are about the work that I do. They're 5, 6, 7 minutes long. So thank you, Stephanie. ericmorris.com, and that's the way to reach me if they're interested. I have 8 books out there, and so that's it. They're all listed on the website. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. Thanks for about the letting people know they can contribute to our heroes, the firemen of LA. Just thank you so much. Thank you. I did a series. I want to talk about the series that really kind of shifted me around acting. I did a series with Desi Arnaz Jr. about 25 years ago. And
really?
I did a series with Desi Arnaz Jr. And you didn't know that. I'm giving you this one, huh?
Right.
Yeah, I did a series. Right. Whatever year the Mambo. What was the name of his movie? Mambo King. Look this up, Stephanie. Mambo King. Desi Arnaz Jr. He plays his father in the movie. He plays his father. Now, Desi told me he did a lot of drugs. He said the thing was he did so many drugs. He said what scared him was that a lot of people did not even notice he was on drugs. He says that he could walk by producers, they wouldn't notice. Now, he talked to me, he was training for Mambo Kings every day, from how he actually opened a taxi cab to how he spoke to his physical posture. He would be his father, to wanting to get a drink in the evening, to want to get up and get a drink, to how he harshly spoke to someone. And, he told me for 3 months of being his father, breathing like his father, talking like his father, he discovered his father and developed the love and appreciation he couldn't have for him when he was alive. And it touched me, and I realized, wow, that's the craft. I call it unscripted power, but when I realized that you were about putting people where they could be in touch with that level of connection and feeling and expression, and that's what's happened to me around this film that I'm shooting. It's kind of like it comes to me at night. It moves me in the day, and I could feel like the color up, the impact of it. And I think, wow, that's really from you. You were the connecting link to another body of work that I always felt a connection to, a deep connection, but also felt put off by how it was presented. So thanks for being a family member. Thanks for making that contribution, Eric. And I thought you could leave people with maybe 2 or 3 tips how they could begin to implement. I know they could go to get subscribed, but maybe a couple of things. But people are really hungry today. How could I begin to implement being a professional, participant, a professional experiencer?
Well, are you asking me about people who want to act or who want to use the work in their life? Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. What do you think, Stephanie? And you're both. Stephanie, what's your input?
I would say how to use it in both.
Okay.
In both, did you say? In both? All right.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Well, my work is divided. My teaching work, my system, divided into two areas: the instrument and the craft. The instrument is you, your mind, your body, your voice, your emotions. You. That's the instrument. And half of the work I do in my work is to liberate people from blocks, obstacles, conditioning, dependencies, fear, terror, superstition, all of the things that block a person from being impressively and expressively free. Impressively open to be affected by external and internal stimuli, and expressive of what they're feeling. So this work on an instrumental level progressively and cumulatively liberates the person so they're free to live and free to act. The second part of the circle, the other half of the circle, is the craft that I teach. How to identify the obligations of a piece of dramatic material. There are 7 major obligations, and these obligations actually are part of every piece of material, of dramatic, a screenplay, a television show, a play, a stage play, whatever. So when you identify what those obligations are, time and place, relationship, character, emotional obligation, thematic obligation, historical, et cetera. Once you identify what your responsibilities are, you have a craft that you can select choices from your own life experiences that will stimulate the experiential reality of the character as described in the material. So my work has two. The circle of the work is the instrument and the craft. I did that very quickly. Probably a little confusing for people hearing it the first time. But the first part is to liberate the instrument so that a person can be free to live happily, open, expressively, and productively, and to act from free place. Because you can't act if you're not liberated instrumentally to be able to do so. And you can't be happy in life if you're blocked, So that's my work.
I wish my kindergarten teacher had said this. It makes a lot of sense. I wish my kindergarten teacher said this to me before I had all the dreaded school experiences. I wish it was set straight from the beginning. I heard the closest thing I heard from a kindergarten teacher that made sense to me was, she said, "Class, this may not make sense to you now, but I want you to hear it." She goes, 50% of the people you meet in the world, maybe 90% are going to hate you. 30 to 50% are going to totally love you. Pay attention to the lovers a little bit more than the haters. So when I went to school, I had the false notion that my mother told me that all the teachers would be fair. And I thought, oh, my God, that couldn't be true. And I realized it wasn't true. So I realized, so we get set up by a lie, and all of a sudden we're in life, and we got these lies. That's damaging.
Oh, listen, I have been damaged seriously by many of my grade school teachers, some of my high school teachers, and only a limited number of my college and university teachers. But our teachers, somebody said to me once, how do you pick an acting teacher? How do you go about it? I say very carefully, because an acting teacher can do more damage to your life than a psychiatrist. So, what I'm saying is you've got to be very, very careful when you select somebody who's going to teach you acting or living or whatever, because if they don't know what they're doing, they can be very, very, it can be very damaging. It can be very painful,
Yeah.
So we talked.
Yeah,
You mentioned something about love in the statement.
Yeah.
I have to say, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful. The work that I do is so profoundly impacting and life-changing that I get more love from more people than any one person deserves to have in a single lifetime. And I say that with such gratitude, and I feel so lucky. It does not make me feel arrogant in any way. I feel so humble and so grateful. I told my therapist that I get more love from more people on this earth than any one person deserves in a single lifetime, and that's true. And I'm getting a little vulnerable as I say it, because I'm so grateful for that. Are you there?
Actually,
is that too much?
I'm feeling as you say it. What's that?
Is that too
What's
much
that?
to digest in one?
No. I'm actually. I feel teary-eyed. I feel. That's very moving. It's. No, it's a beautiful. Listen, you're so alive, and you've been. When you said you've been doing this 58 years, you're more alive and vital. You're in a way. You're an inspiration to me. I love you and appreciate you deeply. I'm really happy you're getting that love. A lot of people, as they grow in this life, you could call it growing old. Ashley Montague, an anthropologist, wrote a book called Growing Young. And you are growing young. I see you growing young. I feel you growing young. I mean, you speak. The wonders of life are in you and blossom through you, with you. So I'm happy that you're there to share this. I'm happy that you're there because I feel like just you sharing it opens up something, I think, in people's listening, because we often don't hear that.
Well, I'm also happy about our relationship, Glenn. It's been 17, 18, however long, and it's been really meaningful to me, too.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, thank you. Yeah, I feel a deep sense of love and family with you. And when I knew you were going to be on today, I knew everything was going to be good. I knew that you coming on in conjunction with the fire, that we were doing this show and going to do other shows that, and also, of course, I knew that my daughter would we'd love that you were going to be on. And so actually, I feel more support from you than I feel the kind of support because I think that you've removed obstacles in yourself. So your love, who you are, comes through pretty powerfully and fully amplified. And I always feel kind of, I always feel loved and appreciated by you in a way that's unique, no matter when we speak. So I deeply love you and appreciate our relationship, and what you're doing is an inspiration to me.
But you deserve it. You're a special person. You've been relating to people in terms of becoming more aware and conscious for years and years and years. And I think that's the salvation of mankind, consciousness. I really believe that, and you're very active in promoting that for many, many, many years,
Thank you. Yes. Let's go to Stephanie. Let Stephanie let people know the firemen could vitally use support. They need these hydration packs. Nina, who's at the foundation, was telling me it's the number one thing because of the hydration packs. They're going to be able to help more of the people in LA. It's a practical need. It's like water for this. They're starving for these packs. It will make a huge difference. So please dig in your hearts. This is all going to the Los Angeles Fire Foundation, 100%. Stephanie, please tell people how they can make a contribution today.
They can go to supportlafd.org, the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. Again, it's supportlafd.org, and there is a way to donate directly to the foundation online.
Well, you're listening to the Vibrant Living Network, ear to ear, coast to coast, and internationally, and we're really about changing the conversation. Really about what's more vibrant in our lives. How to really not grow old, but grow young. To wake up beyond what's the constant nonsense that's fed to us, and to be able to live our lives with more of a sense of vital rhythmic pulsations. That really we're alive to become more alive. We're not alive to kind of die and be quiet and kind of go away, or to be cool and well rehearsed. What would you like? We got the coming New Year, Eric. Is there something? We only got like 3 minutes left on this point. One of my visions for New Year is that me and you, Eric, we're doing a regular show. We're touching people, and we're working together. And I come out to LA and finally see you beyond all my barriers. And I'm there in LA with you. What's a message you want to leave with people for the New Year today, for the holiday season?
Wake up every morning and be appreciative that you are breathing and that you're alive, and look for all the things that you can be happy about and to be able to give happiness to people. I mean, that's what life is so precious. Life is so precious. We spend so much time being angst and complaining and being unhappy when there's so much to be happy about, selectively emphasizing the good things in your life every day. Of course, there's crap and garbage and angst and frustration, but be happy. Selectively emphasize the happy things in your life. the good things. How's that?
I want to thank. I think it's great. It's great. I want to thank you, Eric. I want to thank Chris, OMTimes Radio, for producing and distributing the Vibrant Living Network, and also for their contributions today, so we could donate to the firemen, which I'm loving to continue to do. My vision is to do a lot more, to have Eric on a regular basis to talk about this movie, the announcement, and also to have you guys write in and share your questions and call in. If you ever wanted to be an actor, if you ever wanted to perhaps repair a damage you thought was unrepairable, let's have a deep conversation. Let's have a different conversation. Let's not hide out with each other. Let's really be there for each other and allow what's really there to be there. Let's call what's there and then see how we could let something new occur rather than, listen, the poison of relationships is conclusions and assumptions. Let's go beyond those to embrace and be with each other. Can't stand that conclusion, assumption stuff. Let's take a fast for that till the new year and beyond. Your life's precious. Enjoy it. I love you a lot, Eric. Thank you for being with us. Stephanie, I love you a lot, too. We'll be with you next week at 1 p.m. right here on OMTimes Radio, Vibrant Living Network. Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Stephanie.